Welcome back, this is StubMuff in 1986, and today I'm going to be doing a guide on how to play with the new premium Tier 7 American medium tank T23E3. Really a beautiful tank, really good. I didn't personally care so much for the camouflage and spending a little bit more money, but this tank does have a little bit of things that are unique about it. I'm going to go over that and hopefully help players just understand how to play with this tank, as it can be a little difficult. So when we take a closer look at this tank, we can see that it is classified as a medium tank. So we know the whole purpose of this tank is supposed to spot and flank and report those enemy positions to your allies so they can close in and rain down fire upon them. So let's just go in and check out the armor real quick. So from looking at this thing, we can see just from another Tier 7 pointing its cannon at it, this thing does not have a whole lot of armor. There's really not a whole lot you can rely on with this tank. Maybe some side scraping right there, just looking at standard shell from a Comet, but even turning just a little bit too much, as you can see there, you're going to have a little bit of a harder time blocking shots with this tank. So the key thing with this tank is you never want to be putting yourself in positions where you're relying on your armor. More so, you want to be relying on the landscape much more with this thing, using the hills, barriers, staying very close to those obstacles. So if someone's going to turn their cannon and take a shot at you, you've got something to retreat back behind and then protect you from any shots. So from looking here, we can see that the T23E3 has a gun depression of -10, which is not bad, fairly average for a Tier 7 medium tank, but it will definitely allow you to point your cannon at a downward good enough angle that if you're coming up over hills or other slopes, you can get that good gun arch to get some shots off. You can still see, even angled when coming up over a hill, your armor once again just still does not quite have the strength to block or bounce shots. So once again, I mean, even though at this angle from looking up it may seem that you might have enough, you still don't want to be putting yourself in that position. So when going in and looking at the actual stats of the tank, once again we can see it doesn't have a whole lot of armor just from looking at the stats here. Just 1,150 hit points, everything below 80 millimeters in terms of armor. So yeah, once again, need to be relying on the landscape to protect yourself. Going into the maneuverability, acceleration is okay. You're looking at about a 14 plus. With the engine power weight ratio, top speed pretty good, and then shell or cannon, with it being a Tier 6, you got 200 alpha, 187 with penetration, almost 14 rounds a minute, which is pretty good. But you don't want to be coming up and trying to do a damage exchange against things like a Comet, as a Comet will have a rate of fire of 15 rounds per minute. So there are some tanks you still want to be careful of. This thing doesn't have the highest DPM, but enough to still put you in a pretty good position to just rain down fire upon the enemy. And if you are a little bit more credit conservative, I would still recommend the multi-restoration, the engine boost, the repair gears. Just even though the adrenaline can be a little bit more on the expensive side, for provisions I don't use just because they're just so expensive and can really drain your credits. I would at least use pack 8 PCR, 50 AP, and then 2 HE for those quick base shots when someone's capping. Coated optics, binoculars, as you are going to be spotting and flanking, and then the gun rammer to help increase your rate of fire. So let's just go into some gameplay here. This is my very first game that you're witnessing with my T23E3. On the Desert Sands level, I'm going to want to stay out in the dune region, as town is pretty much a death trap for medium tanks. Can't emphasize enough that staying clear of town, especially at the beginning of the game when there are so many enemies, is very crucial. So we're just going to go ahead and move up here. I'm trying to get eyes on the enemy as fast as I can. Doesn't look like they're coming out here to dunes and they're all going into the town. Doesn't look like I can get any eyes on the enemy out here in the dunes. So I'm going to try to go over here to the very far left as I can up on these tracks to keep that distance there between me and the enemy, so I can try to keep myself undetected. Looks like our team's doing a really good job giving us eyes into the town. Trying to see if I can get any eyes. Here we go. Alright, supposedly I hit him but didn't do any damage. But you can just see here that the rate of fire with this tank can be fairly lethal. And is much faster at reloading than a lot of other heavy tanks in the game. So just keeping my eyes downrange, even with a heavy tank at that distance, just using a standard AP shell, still able to get that shot. So I mean, this thing's penetration really isn't that bad. So just being very situationally aware here. Trying to see if I can get any shots. Okay, I'm detected, so I'm immediately going to move back, try to put myself into a more protected spot. I'm not just going to stay out in the open. I know sometimes players will just want to just get that one shot off before they maybe roll back behind something for protection. But the biggest issue with doing that is, especially if you're trying to keep yourself undetected, as I am kind of trying to do right here while raining down fire upon the enemy, is you'll try to get that one shot in, but you don't have any idea sometimes how many cannons are actually pointing at you. And I've just seen players just get completely wiped out by exchanging, a little 200 damage for basically their whole life of their tank. So we are winning here. I'm going to be a bit more aggressive. I'm just going to go ahead and close in on these enemies, try to help out my friends here. I'm also being very situationally aware of where my teammates are. There is a destroyer on the tracks behind me. So if I do get in a situation where I'm in trouble, I'm going to want to back up and try drawing these enemies out to him so that he can rain down fire upon them. So not only being situationally aware of where the enemies are, but also just being situationally aware of where your own teammates are, so you can utilize them as well. So just great rate of fire here, just going through and just finishing off the enemy. Good game. And there we go. So very first game I've ever played with my T23E3. Good tank. Definitely enjoyed it just with that first round. Was able to do 1,000 more damage than anyone else on my team, and also looks like the enemy's team as well. Going into another Desert Sands level, however, now we're on the other side. So once again, I'm going to stay over on the side where the dunes are. We do, it looks like, have the advantage of having more medium and light tanks. They've got 2 mediums, we've got 3 medium and light, so we're going to try hitting the dunes pretty hard. Looks like, fortunately, one of our teammates got wiped out there pretty bad, which is one of the reasons I couldn't tell if he... Yeah, it looks like he just went solo right into the town. Not a good idea on this map. You want to make sure when playing this game that you are always visible to where your teammates are, because if you're not, how this guy was, where he just went into the town by himself, he got himself in trouble and none of us could help him because there was buildings and all that other stuff in the way. So once again here I'm using the landscape, just barely peeking over. Had to get out of there. I did not want to exchange 200 damage for what he's capable of doing. He can do a little bit more damage than me. Getting a little lucky here with some of these shots here. Figured I might be. Just kind of testing the accuracy with the cannon. Gonna try helping my friend here. Reload, just pop over, and anytime you're reloading, even though you may think you're safe, still roll back behind anything to protect yourself, because you just never know. Gonna peek up again, see if maybe I can get some other shots off these enemies. Okay, they're now ahead by 3, but definitely, once again, I'm trying to stay out of the town, as if I go into town, you're relying on side scraping and your armor, and that is just not a good place for a medium or light tank, especially a tank like this where you just simply don't have enough armor. So a beautiful shot on just damaging his ammo rack. So wasn't able to fortunately finish him off there. Just gonna test the accuracy. Okay, I wasn't able to quite get him before he died. I would have been a little surprised if I would have been able to get that shot, being I was aiming at his top hatch all the way across the map. Alright, well, hit a dune there. So just, putting myself in just such a beautiful position that I can just rain down fire upon the enemy, just be super effective in helping my team win, and just raking in the damage as well in the meantime. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and move in here. We're ahead by 1, but they're pretty weak. So I'm going to be much more aggressive. I could have probably been a little bit more aggressive earlier on in the game, but being it looks like this is going to be a definite win for us. Unfortunately, the guy on my clan wasn't even platooning with him, just happened to be on the same team. Unfortunately, didn't quite make it, but he did an awesome job in just raking in the damage points and just really helping us out. Try to just stating and typing in revenge just for my clanmate, but unfortunately wasn't able to get the message in. So anyway, another good game. Hopefully this was able to help. This is Studmuff in 1986, and thanks for watching.